Hello, welcome back to the channel. Right, something slightly different today, but it's obviously Beatles related. This morning, as you do, when you do, I do Beatle videos, but I obviously watch other people's. I've told you about Beatle Brad, and there's numerous other ones that I watch, me, Mr. Mayo. But this morning, I was watching a Canadian guy called Canadian Stud Muffin. Now, he does a lot of Beatle, ranking. He collects quite a lot of stuff, and he's actually quite a funny guy. He does actually crack me up. And he done Beatle albums covers, his favourite to his least favourite. And I thought that was quite an interesting topic. I went on to watch a few of his other videos, like his 10 worst Beatles songs and the amount of flack he got over it. And some of his videos responses had me really laughing out loud. The geezer's well funny. Anyway, so I've been thinking about doing this myself, the Beatles cover ranking. And obviously I was asked a long time ago about my least favourite 20 Beatles songs. That I still ain't sure about doing yet. I'd have to really dig in deep. And like I said, I'd play them tomorrow and they'd be different. But anyway, this is not what this is about. But I was thinking about doing a cover ranking, my least favourite to my favourite cover. And then I discovered, as you do, before you do a video, you do a little bit of looking around. I found this really, really interesting article in the New Musical Express by Emily Barker. She done this on May 13th, 2015. So I thought, something different today. I'm just going to literally, and you're going to have to, please excuse my reading. I am no Stephen Fry. I am no Morgan Freeman. But I found it a really interesting read. So if you please indulge me, I'm going to read this article by Emily Barker. And you can let me know what you think after. Anyway. The Beatles album artwork secrets, each sleeve's story revealed by Emily Barker. Spare a thought for the poor souls who created the sleeves to the Beatles albums. The problem, you see, when designing covers for arguably the greatest band of all time, is no matter how mind-blowing the artwork you sling together, it'll always be overlooked for the music within, like kids tearing wrapping paper off at Christmas morning. Da Vinci himself could have stuck the Mona Lisa on Revolver, and it'd still be passed over by fans yelping, "Yes, nice sleeve, Leo. But how about that mad backward sitar solo on I'm Only Sleeping?" The covers to each of the Fab Four albums, however, are an integral part of those records, capturing the feel, fun of each chapter of their evolution to 21st century icons. Here's the story of how each album cover was made. Please Please Me. Shot in a stairway of EMI's offices in Manchester Square, surrealist artist Angus MacBean was enlisted for the not-so-surreal shot, featuring John, George, Ringo and Paul grinning down from above. It was nearly so different, though somewhere out there are illustrations by Macca for the sleeves back when the LP was prospectively, punily titled Off the Beatle Track. Another plan for the record was to shoot the sleeve outside the Insect House at London Zoo, punning on their creepy crawly band name, but the zoo people were very stuffy indeed. "We don't allow those sort of photographs on our premises," quite out of keeping with the good taste of Zoological Society of London. So the idea fell down. Later, said George Martin, "I bet they regret that now." With the Beatles, the start of a beautiful friendship. Robert Freeman snapped the band in a stark black and white at the Bournemouth Hotel, the Palace Court, for the Fab Four's Artful Second, going on to shoot a further 4 Beatles LPs. Rather than have them all in line, I put Ringo at the bottom right corner, since he was the last to join, said Rob. He was also the shortest. Poor Ringo. The white block at the top of the front cover almost caused a ruckus between the band and the label. The group wanted the black and white image presented with no text, but the label vetoed it, insisting the Beatles weren't famous enough to carry a nameless cover. EMI, meanwhile, weren't too happy with the smileless shot, at odds with their chippy public persona, but eventually backed down. A Hard Day's Night. Another Rob Freeman classic. The iconic headshots were an attempt to mimic the motion of a movie camera, with each panel another frame in a movie. A nod, of course, to the movie of the same name, as well as arguably the group's increasingly cinematic sound, its playful feel. Beatles academics have suggested was at the label's behest after the dark previous sleeve. The front cover's colours, red, white and dark dominant blue, were deemed too British for other regions by label XX. As a result, the album was released in Brazil and in the US with red frame, with the American release using only 4 large frames instead of 16 small ones, ruining Freeman's original concept. Like the previous records, the back sleeve was kept elegant and clean. Beatles for sale. Freeman's third cover saw the Beatles posing in an autumnal Hyde Park. Their surely expressions perhaps a reflection of their new soul-searching on the music within. Lennon was big into Bob Dylan's introspective folk around its writing. Others say the photo and title captured their weariness with Beatlemania, now at its height, and constant commodification of their music. The shoot was a doddle, according to Paul McCartney. It was easy. We did a session lasting a couple of hours and had some reasonable pictures to use. The photographer would always be able to say to us, just show up. Because we wore the same kind of gear, black stuff, white shirts and big black scarves. Help. The very groovy plan was originally for the Fab Four to arrange their arms to spell help in a flag semaphore. Freeman, however, wasn't happy with the graphic positioning of the arms and instead improvised. The ski garb the band are decked out in, meanwhile, is taken from the Help movie. It's a slight wonder the sleeve isn't more out there, given Help coincided with a wild time for the band. We were smoking marijuana for breakfast during that period. Nobody could communicate with us because we was all glazed-eyed and giggling all the time. In our own world, said Lennon in 1980. It was another year until LSD began to influence their music and aesthetic. Rubber Soul. Here's where things start to get trippy. Rubber Soul was the group's first release not to feature their name on the cover, which in 1965 was unheard of. The story goes that one afternoon Freeman, him again, was projecting photos of the band onto an album-sized piece of cardboard in order to give them an idea how the photos might look on the new cover. The projector slide card fell backwards, warping the projected image. The band were thrilled by the effect. I like the way we got our faces to be longer on the album cover. We lost the little innocence tag, the naivety, and Rubber Soul was the first one where they were fully fledged potheads, later said George Harrison, with Macca adding, it was another example of us branching out. Revolver. The Beatles' 1966 release featured a cover illustration created by German musician and artist Klaus Voormann, who they met in an amphetamine-munching, spell-bent Hamburg in the early 60s. Voormann used personal photos supplied by the band members, in which, in his words, show their sweet side. If you look closely, Voormann's own photograph, as well as his name, is worked into Harrison's hair on the right-hand side of the cover. His design ended up winning a Grammy for Best Album Cover or Graphic Art. The band may well have clinched it with its striking back cover too, the band in the studio, sunglasses on, and contrast raised to hide their stony eyes, it's rumoured. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The work of pop artist Peter Blake and Jan Hayworth, inspired by one of Paul McCartney's ink drawings. 57 photographs, 9 waxworks of famous individuals went into this iconic monster of a sleeve. All people the band admired, Bob Dylan, Lewis Carroll among them. The cover reportedly cost $3,000 to make, an absurdly extravagant sum at that time. Included with the album was a sheet of cardboard cutout designed by Blake and Hayworth, a postcard-sized portrait of Sergeant Pepper, a fake moustache, 2 sets of Sergeant stripes, 2 lapel badges, and a stand-up cutout of the Beatles in their satin uniforms. Moore felt that this item would help fans pretend to be in the band. Nice touch. The White Album, an aesthetic U-turn after the beast that was Sergeant Pepper cover. This minimalist design included a tiny serial number on the bottom left corner. Richard Hamilton, who created the album with Macca, claimed the number was intended to create ironic situations of numbered editions of something like 5 million copies. In 2008, an original pressing of the album with serial number 0000005 sold for £19,201. The lack of cover did little to dampen the rumour that the band could no longer stand each other, with a relationship between John and Paul said to be becoming more and more fractious. It wasn't a pleasant one to make, Macca sheepishly admitted after its release. Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine released in 1969. Yellow Submarine featured illustrations of the band by Heinz Edelman in the style of the eponymous film, which also doubled as the film's poster. The film and sleeve were at the peak of Beatles' psychedelic siege on the mainstream. The UK and the US versions of the LP had very different back covers. The British one featured a review of the White Album from The Observer, and the US edition an illustration biography of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, comparing their battle with the Blue Meanies to Beowulf at Herot Mead Hall, King John's signing of the Magna Carta, Thomas Jefferson's writing of the Declaration of Independence. Abbey Road, originally titled Everest, after their sound engineer's favourite cigarettes. Martin had arranged the band to be snapped at the foothills of Mount Everest instead. On August the 8th, 1969, Lennon-McCartney took the decision to just walk outside and take a picture and name the album after whichever street they were on. Photographer Ian McMillan was given just 10 minutes to take the snap while police held up traffic. The shot became the first Beatle cover to include neither name nor album title. The cover became one of the most parodied ever. If you're ever bored, there is now a webcam dedicated to watching the street, and you can watch tourists in Birkenstock sandals imitate the Fab Four all day. Let It Be. The sleeve for Let It Be spoke volumes about the divides within the band as they neared the end. The black frame seemed funeral, and the clouds above the band blackened further. Ringo had left at one point, I know. John wanted out, and it was very difficult and stressful time. I got up and I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out of here, said George. The band were finished before the album was ever released, capping an extraordinary decade, after which popular music will never be the same. Their legacy, those iconic album sleeves, however, live on. Yeah. Quite interesting, that. Although I did notice there was no Magical Mystery Tour. Maybe that's because when it first came out it was an EP. But it does kind of seem at 2015 why she overlooked it's a little bit weird. But yeah. But I still thought it was quite an interesting article. Let me know downstairs what you thought. And I hope you can understand with my awful reading. I should do it more, really. Anyway, so I am thinking about doing a Beatle album grading, if you like, from my favourite to my least. And one day I might take on the task of doing my 10 least favourite. But to be honest with you, as soon as you... I mean, off the top of my head, I can only think of Revolution number 9. Now, having said that, not thinking it's a Beatle record and just listen to it on a decent stereo with a really good set of speakers, it can be quite overpowering. So it does move you, but is it a Beatle record? No, I don't think so anyway. But other than that, you start pick 10, right? You know, as soon as you've wrote the list, you're going to feel bad because you're going to play the song and you think, well, I like it. It truly is difficult, but I will get round to it at some point soon. But I am going to do a grading of the album cover soon. If you're interested, might be something different. So yeah, so that's it for today, guys. Really, just found that article and I thought, do you know what? I've got to share it with the Beatles fans out there. They might find it interesting. You probably already read it. I'll put a link to it anyway downstairs, just in case my reading was that bad. You'd rather read it to yourself. I understand. So have a great week, people. Hope the weather's all right for you over wherever you are. We've had a little bit of snow. Apparently, it's going to come down quite bad tonight. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? But anyway, take care of yourselves. I'll be back with another ramble real soon. Bye now.